Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Voxcaster. I'm your host Dan. On this episode, me and Brian get to sit down with the man, the legend himself, Miniwargamer Dave. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us, Dave.
Oh, you're very kind with your words, and it's a pleasure to be here.
See, I could have carried on with very more words, but then the intro might have carried on a little too long, took away from the basic episode. So, I kept myself calm. But no, I'm just going to start this off by saying when Brian got that message from JT the other week saying, "Hey, have you guys checked your episode lately?" And we were like, "Why?" And then chuckle. And then the Shrine of Chaos itself fell upon us and it blew my fragile little mind.
Well, it's always fun to see the reaction to that, because I don't typically get to hear the feedback, right? This is one of the rare instances when someone reaches out and they're like, "Hey, thanks for the shout out." So it was fun.
No, it was definitely muchly appreciated. And like I said, like we're just this tiny little podcast getting, like I said, if we're lucky, get about 100 views, this and that, 2 or 3 comments. And just to see, I think last time I checked, we're over like 700 something, 150 comments. The likes came poured in. I'm just like, okay, what's happening? How do we handle this? But no, it was definitely an adventure. And yeah, just a huge thank you. And like, I love that on the Shrine of Chaos that you guys just you do it so often, just shout out like the little guys like us, and it's just it gives us like that chance, I guess you can say. You can kind of like ride it, and then you get a wider variety of like audience to kind of jump in, take a listen to you that you wouldn't have normally had beforehand.
It's funny because like our community, I love our community. Our community is awesome, and it's there. I find that our community is very quick to kind of have each other's backs when it comes to just sharing stuff and supporting each other and getting people in the hobby and teaching others things. It's a very for the most part, it's a very welcoming, fun community to be a part of.
It really is. That's something that Scary or Pete said as well. Is anyone is willing to sit down and talk Warhammer. It's such a great community in that way.
Yeah, like you get another Warhammer enthusiast, and it's like you could be in a different country, different occupation. Like it doesn't even matter what you do in your quote unquote real life. If you're talking Warhammer with someone, like then you're really talking.
But no, it's true. It doesn't really matter what neck of the woods you are from or what part of the world you're from. If you speak Warhammer, you speak that common tongue, and it can last 6-7 hours until like you literally like, okay, I need to go to bed. It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's why conventions are so awesome. Anytime that I don't know if you guys have ever had a chance to go to Adepticon or the LVO or
it's on the dream list. It's on the dream list, much definitely.
It's just such a fantastic experience because it's that multiplied by hundreds and thousands. So it's just so much fun. It's nothing like it.
Yeah, like the closest thing that we have down here, it's like we actually had our first GT about 2 years ago, and by GT I mean like it was how many people in the end, Brian? There was at least
35 plus.
30, yeah, and that's the biggest tournament that we had from around here. So that's our extent of big tournament.
Yeah.
Hey, it's something.
Well, exactly, and it's definitely the start of something. And like every tournament, like you say, like the Nova, the Adepticon, and all this stuff, they all started out small. They never in one day was like, hey, we're hosting 1,000 people, come join. But like, and that's the joys of it, is it's going to keep growing more and more and more as time goes on, because more people get sucked into this game of Warhammer, and it gives us more friends to talk to.
Absolutely, and more skulls to reap for Khorne. And that's always good.
See, I need to add more in my collection, because from the listeners, they know that I am a hardcore World Eaters and Demon player. But the one thing I've never fully mentioned, and it's the perfect timing for me to mention, is when I got into Warhammer, the first person I found, because I started Chaos, was I typed in YouTube, who plays Chaos? Oh, who's this Dave guy? He really likes this Khorne. So researched later, 10 plus years later, 22,000 points of chaos later, I just want to say thank you, Dave. Thank you for that. But no, like in the area, like I think I'm probably the only World Leaders player / Khorne Demons pure player at all, or at least as far as I know.
Probably had them the longest.
Awesome.
I know some people have dipped into them, like Kier and stuff, but
they ain't got
for
nothing.
the most part, I play your enemy. I'm the Slaanesh guy.
Nice, but still chaos though.
It is, but
chaos
the funny part is Slaanesh is like the new child of the Chaos Gods. You're technically the new child of Warhammer in the area, so it kind of makes sense. I'll let you get that one, but
yeah, that's super cool, man. I love it. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Okay, for me it was rule of cool, because I remember when I first started, and it was like other people were in the club and they were collecting different armies, and like, hey Dave, what are you going to collect? And I was looking around, seeing what was available, and I saw Chaos Space Marines. And I had no idea how they did on the battlefield or how powerful they were. It didn't matter. They just looked so cool. Like the aesthetic was awesome. So really cool, spoke to me. I started collecting them. And then eventually, like that first box set that I had Khorne Berserkers in it. I remember that.
Okay, nice.
It had Khorne Berserkers, Chaos Space Marines, a Rhino, Chaos Lord, Terminator Lord. It was a few bikers and a Defiler. That was the first box.
So is this the original Defi that we're talking about?
The original Defi.
Ooh, the origin story.
The original Defi. He was one of the first models I put together.
Nice.
And it was just awesome. I love it. This is back in like tail end of 4th edition.
Okay.
Start of 5th edition. Never played any of the editions before. The closest I have come to that is playing Gorka Morka, which apparently is basically 2nd edition.
Okay.
But just the aesthetic was awesome. And then learning more about the lore, I'm like, man, these guys are cool. Especially World Leaders. Oh, man, I love World Leaders. And then the close combat, like seeing the different styles of play, I gravitated to close combat because it was just very rewarding to take out guys in melee.
Oh, no, it's true, because everybody can shoot at guys, but nobody can get into close combat and beat skulls in like the World Leaders.
Like
people will argue it, but it's not.
It's so good. And I don't know about you, but the feeling I get when Khorne Berserkers charge a unit and they take out a unit with their chain axes, with their like fight twice ability, it is just one of the best experiences ever. I don't care if I win or lose. If that happens in the game, I feel like I've won.
Oh, it's just, I don't know how many times I would just run like a 20-man blob, wrap so many things, like back in 8th edition when you can just like daisy chain wrap around. And I remember just taking out probably like 500-600 points worth of models just with the mass amount of attacks through chain swords on the charge and this and that. It's just, like you said, it's just like, you're like, I don't care if I get table from here on out. I did that, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah. So it's just fun. It's all about fun, man.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this game. And I think I say on every single episode that we have, every single guest, is just, I haven't had this much fun playing a game with the community than I've had playing Warhammer.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I would say Warhammer 40K is definitely my favorite. Horus Heresy is a lot of fun too. I'm enjoying that a lot. I'm currently doing a campaign, the Victory is Vengeance campaign, where it's basically the aftermath of the Isfahan massacre. And so I'm playing the Alpha Legion. Josh is playing the Dark Angels. And what I'm doing is I am hunting down the remnant loyalist forces and trying to eliminate them.
Nice.
And the campaign system's fun because it's a degradation campaign. So typically in campaign systems, you upgrade and you level up and you gain special abilities and experience. And this one's different in that you actually get weaker as the campaign progresses, because it's just showing that there's less and less forces available, and there's scarce amount of bullets and supplies and armor is getting damaged, and so it's great. It really, the campaign system itself really lends itself well to the feeling that's actually happening on the tabletop, and it's awesome.
No, definitely, because like I said, it makes it feel like real world, because it's like you were saying, like, yeah, it's fun getting all these bonuses, this and that. But like, if you're stranded on this planet fighting for everything you have left, and if you're starting to run out of resources, you're not going to see magical drop pods dropping from the sky with like extra ammo, ammunition, and stuff like that. So like, if you're fighting for like 100 days on end, yeah, you're gonna be running low on resources. But to play that on a tabletop, I think you might have given me a little bit of an idea there, Dave.
Yeah. So the next thing from that, I think what I want to do is actually take those Horus Heresy campaign rules and extrapolate that and apply that to Warhammer 40K 9th edition, right? So imagine a crusade type of campaign, only it's in reverse, where you get weaker as you go. And there is a narrative, there's an overall goal that each side has. It could be even just a matter of exterminating one side, right?
Yeah.
But you get a certain amount of supply points per game. You can gain more, and then you spend those supply points in between each mission to upkeep your armor and your ammo and your personnel, or you have to sacrifice in certain areas, and so you would have to have less armor and less ammo. Okay. So whenever you roll a 1 to hit, you have to make an ammo check, and depending on how plentiful or scarce your ammo is, you could actually snap shoot for the rest of the game. So Horus Heresy terms, that's hitting on 6s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I was actually going to ask that. So like as time goes on, like would your ballistic skill technically drop down then? So that kind of answers my question.
And same with the armor, right? The armor, the way that degenerates or whatever is that it becomes harder to move. Like instead of moving your regular distance, you're moving at -1 movement, and you have to roll an extra die when you're moving through difficult terrain. You take the lowest die, right, or you remove the highest die, and so it just does a really good job at that. And you have less points at the beginning to spend on your actual forces. So Horus Heresy, things are done in points, similar to 9th edition. And typically it's like, okay, we want to bring 250 points. Like they're small forces. They're like combat patrol size, right? So typically it's 250 to 300. But sometimes you don't have enough points, supply points to spend. And so you have to go, all right, well, I'm only 250, but my opponent's 300 points. They have an extra 50 points on me in models. So that's huge in a small scale game.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So everything matters. Every die roll matters because there's just less on the table.
But I love that because it makes you have to think that much more rather than just going like balls deep and being like, well, whatever, I'm just going to shoot everything up. It's like, well, no, because you're already at a disadvantage now. And if you're going to have to carry this over to another game, like you said, you kind of want to hold back and make sure that you're going to be able to have something to carry over.
That's right. And you can actually cash up your supply points too. And, kind of spend them later on when it's kind of more vital, right? You can do that, and it's that kind of campaign stuff that I really enjoy. There's a lot of enjoyment and what's the word I'm looking for? Satisfaction.
Yeah.
With, kind of like piecing together that puzzle before you even
making
start playing.
A complete narrative story. Because I agree completely with you. Like even with 9th edition as it is now, I think I've probably played 3 or 4 times more Crusade games than I've played legitimate just 9th edition games because I enjoy more the narrative and making a story out of it. Because we're currently doing the same thing, like myself and 3 friends. We're doing a narrative campaign, but one of the guys that plays with us, like he's an amazing storyteller. So on our Discord is after every game we play, he does a full write-up on the game itself, but then full on like narrative, like coming from the commanders and stuff like that to build a story. So like if something happens in a game, it's going to impact what the character is going to be doing as far as his plans, because he might got screwed over on this.
That's cool. I love that. I love that. The narrative is being forged by the actions on the tabletop. That is so cool. Yeah, and it sounds like he's an orator, so he has the ability to just come up with stories, and it's a very useful skill in this hobby.
Well, it's hilarious because we literally played 125 power level game, he ended up getting 2, the other 2 guys, and just that night we jump on Discord and it's just like 27 paragraphs, and he's like, yeah, I got bored, I just thought, I'd write this up, we'll carry it on forward. I'm like, oh my god, I love this. It's like it's a full-on like story book as itself, and it's like we're only like 6 games in and we're probably like 5 pages of narrative already with it. It's great. Like I thrive to play games because I want to play more games just to see the story that he writes now.
Yeah, that's cool. It's almost like it's D&D-esque where you play for the story now. And I find that 9th edition is actually leaning quite heavily into that direction. A lot more than it's ever been before. Because
no, definitely, and like the secondaries are huge in it, because like 8th edition and 7th edition was who can table who first, and that's it. That's all that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But with the secondaries and stuff like that, it makes you think, almost like you were saying, in like a story narrative. Is like, because you got to keep guys back. You kind of have to play it to the field itself. And
yeah, there's actions that are performed, and sometimes the right call isn't to charge forward into combat. As painful it is for me to admit that, because Khorne, and I love that so
right
much.
Call is to dive in and lose your secondary just to murder that unit.
Yep, and well, that's always a better choice. So sometimes it's in your favor.
Could keep that keeper in the deployment for line breaker, or I could use the keeper to kill that unit of Terminators.
Well, it was just like last Friday, I had a game, pure Khorne demons against guard, and I'm like,
nice.
I'm putting Furies in this only because they're gonna stay back. But as far as all 4 Bloodthirsters and all the Bloodletters and Crushers, yeah, no, you're all going forward. You can't stay back. It just doesn't make sense.
No, doesn't make sense narratively, or just any way right in the world with any life decision.
Exactly.
It goes against every fiber.
It's like, if you're going to do that, then why even play Khorne? Just
right.
Go play AdMech or something. Or
yeah, that's right. Just sit back on the objectives and shoot me with your robots.
Oh.
Yeah. So, are there certain armies that you guys like just don't like?
Well, I think there's one army that. Well, see, I find like an army that I would have hated to play against in 8th is not so much in 9th, because I find 9th refined a lot to the point where it's like what may have been scary before may not be as scary anymore because of the board sizes. But again, it's if they're going to play to the secondaries, they have to give up certain things that may make them also less scary. But in 9th edition so far, I hate AdMech. I'm sorry, Nick, if you're listening, but I hate AdMech. And a local player, like I don't think anybody's probably like I think I might have seen him lose twice with his AdMech. It's just they're so broken.
Yeah.
If you don't go first, you're done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is too much. This is ridiculous. I feel that way towards Tau, obviously.
Yeah, back in 8th, that's what I was gonna say. Tau was my least favorite. Every time you tried to run at them, they just mow you down.
I know.
That like, shiny Chaos Knight, yeah, he's done. You don't even get to use him.
Just what is that? Like, come on. What, everything in your army can shoot at me? Like, come on. Oh.
See, and one thing I'm glad is in our area, we have maybe 2 Tau players, but Tau is like their secondary army. They'll play. Well, one of them is Iron Hands.
Currently painting one of them.
Oh, what is that? Blasphemy, Brian.
My eyes are burning.
The Forge World Tiger Shark. I got this whole Tau collection here.
And that's the funny part is it's one of the guys on Boulders and Heretics, Justin. Yeah. His initial army was Tau, but then he doesn't play them now because he plays Iron Hand. So I'm like, is that any better?
Because it's Space Marine shooting, yeah.
Exactly.
But that played Iron Hands before that little supplement came out, so he was super excited when it came out, and then they nerfed it really hard, and he was very upset.
Well, that's what happens when you go buy 3 of the tanks and this and that, and
that's why I always find that whenever I add things to my armies, it's always rule of cool every time.
Oh, hands down.
Because rules change. At your Lord of Skulls the past few posts or whatever on Instagram, and I'm like, man, Lord of Skulls would be a nice model to get, but I'm Slaanesh.
You could convert it up. I've seen converted.
Do it. Get the Sonic Master, like that the anniversary model sitting on top where the head is playing his soul, Mad Max it right out. But no, when I seen that picture of the 3 Lord of Skulls, the Kaitan, the 8 Berserkers, and the 8 Rhinos, like I'm looking at my shelf, I'm like, I can run all of that except for all the Lord of Skulls. But one day this will happen.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a fun battle. We did a lopsided open war battle with that one. I was fighting against Josh, and he brought knights. So that's another weird army where it's just like it either obliterates or it can't win because there's just too few models to do anything.
True, very true.
So I had double the points. I had 4,000 points. He had 2,000, and so he was the the lesser army. So he got the ruse and the sudden death card from the open war deck, and I didn't know what it was because it's always secret.
Yeah.
And I won't give away what happened, but it was fun because there was just tons and tons of berserkers that I threw at him. Right. So it's like, okay, they're all OBSEC. I'm just throwing them at them. It feels like they're fodder, even though they're not. And I'm making it a challenge for him because he would otherwise just mow me down like nothing. Right.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing with Knights in this edition. It's like they have that mass firepower, but like you just said, is there's such a low model count that it makes them that much harder to play to the objective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, if they lose 1 or 2 models, that's pretty much half their army.
Exactly.
Yeah. I find that Custodes is like that too. There's just very few models, and it's a weird army to fight against because it does one or the other. It either obliterates you because you can't kill it, or you get lucky and a few die and they can't do anything because they have nothing left.
Exactly. Like you take out like their shield captains, the bikers. Like that happened to me once where I played a game and I probably killed 2 bikes just because he was rolling so hot.
Yeah.
And then the next game, it's like I got lucky. I was playing my Drukhari and poison shots. I just unloaded mass amounts of poison shots and got lucky in one turn. I took out like 6 bikes and his shield captain and stuff like that.
Nice.
And he looked at me and he's just like, I literally can't do anything anymore. I felt bad, but I felt so good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Justin in the last tournament or whatever. The Custodes guy came up mid-board and Justin ran up there and null zoned it all.
Yeah.
Just won
it.
And
then, like I said, you get instances like that. And then, like you said, in an elite army like that, they lose so much to just that. And then you're like, oh, well.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why I'm enjoying the demons right now. You don't care that you lose like 10 demonettes.
Oh, no. You roll that 1, you get D6 back. I'll take that any day. Unless I roll my 1s when I'm trying to do my saves. But when it comes to actually bringing stuff back, it's 6s. But
if I had one wish in this game, it would be to bring the Khorne Daemonkin Codex back.
Oh, you don't know how much that hits when you say that. Because I still remember is on my honeymoon about 6 years ago now. We went to England as our big getaway. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, honey, can we go to Nottingham, please? She looks at me dead in the eye. She's like, I know why you want to go. I'm like, there's very nice castles in Warhammer World. So yes. And I remember going there, and that was my first purchase because the Daemonkin had just come out at the time, and I bought it. So I'm like, I have a legit from Warhammer World, Khorne Daemonkin, and I never let that book go. And still to this day, I'm like, if we had these options, it'd be a totally different game.
Totally different game. Absolutely. Yeah. See, now that could be played in a narrative game.
In
Big fact, you know what? I'm so glad that we're talking about this right now. Because now that we've talked about it, it's now out there in the universe. Therefore, it's going to come back eightfold. And I think I'm just going to have to do a narrative pairing of games where I use the Khorne Daemonkin and say, hey, guys, listen, we're going to do this fun narrative. We're going to use the rules from this edition. It's obsolete. You can't use it regularly. But because it's a narrative game, I'm going to use it because it's awesome. It should not have been it should still be around. It really should be around, and you're going to love seeing what you're going to see because this is the best codex of all time.
And you get people so hyped, and it's funny too because like I'm part of like the world leaders like Facebook groups and this and that, and at least once a week somebody's always like, hey, do you guys remember that Khorne Daemonkin book? It's like, hey, does anybody still have their Khorne Daemonkin book? It's like everybody knows it exists. Everybody still wants it to be there, and why they took it away, it's like, why did they take something so precious that did so good and was just like, It's like, you're not giving us Angron, you're not giving us a World Eater supplement, but we had the next closest thing and you took it away from us.
Yeah, it was its own codex. Isn't that crazy?
And that's the huge. It wasn't a supplement. It was its codex.
It absolutely was. Like how, and if you think about it, why didn't they do that for every Chaos Army? Why did they do that with Death Guard? Why didn't they have like the Death Guard where they combined it with the Nurgle demons? That's what I mean. I know there's a Death Guard codex proper, and it exists. I'm talking about
like a Nurgle Daemonkin and a Nurgle Daemonkin.
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't they do that? I totally thought they were going to.
Because then they would have had to do an Emperor's Children codex.
Which, to be fair, if they had one, I would collect it. I would play it. That'd be fun.
I would too. As I look at all my noise marines.
But no, it's true, and it's like, I know marketing wise, obviously there must have been something there to not carry it over, but it's just with the amount of people that play this game, and for all the Khorne like players and lovers, it's like that was something so huge. I don't know how it could have been viewed as something not, but I don't know. Because if I remember correctly, it did come out quite late in 7th. Am I right? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, it was like mid to late.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, that feels right.
I'm just wondering if maybe the transition into 8th with the ideas that they had to do something different maybe made it obsolete, and almost made you feel like, okay, well, are we finally getting the World Eaters book and be able to tap into some of that? But then we never got it, so it's just like, And then, like I said, 5-6 years later, like I'm still waiting for that World Eaters book. I'm still waiting for Angron. I'm still waiting for my Chaos. And it makes it worse now because to play a World Leaders detachment and bring in a Demons detachment and then lose all your extra stuff, and it's just like, this just makes no sense. I'm getting angry now.
And here's the other thing. Here's the one thing that really doesn't make sense. Do you guys remember Traitor Legions?
Oh my God. And it pisses me off because it came at the end again. And it gave us all the stuff that we have been asking for ages. I bought the book. I used it like 5 times. Like, oh, guess what? New edition, guys. Again, you're doing this again.
Again. Yep. Again.
See, and I wasn't playing when this stuff happened.
I remember getting so many Nurgle bikers.
Oh, they were so good in that.
They were so good. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to have an entire army of Nurgle bikers. And I didn't even get them all in before the edition switched over and it became obsolete. So by the time I got them all, I was like, okay, well, that's great. I got 40 Nurgle bikers. What am I going to do with them?
Yeah, they sit on the shelf, look nice and pretty. But like, I still remember the first game that I ran 8 units of Berserkers, and they first implemented the whole each Berserker unit can advance 2d6 or something like that. And I'm just like, I love this. This is World Leaders. I'm supposed to be up the board.
Yes.
So,
who knows, Dave? Maybe you can run those Nurgle bikers in a campaign.
Oh, there's another idea too. How about a Traitor Legion campaign?
Oh man,
it's a lot of things to spitball about here.
Yeah. Would you watch that if there was a Traitor Legion?
I would rewatch it so many times. It's just anything like Path of the Warlords, or like just anything that is just chaosy goodness jammed into one giant narrative, and just I'm all excited. I got to see this now, Dave. You're getting me a little too excited. I got to see this now.
Yeah. I think the Khorne Demonkin thing that's an easy one. Yeah, that could happen. I think for that, a fun narrative would be there's a bloodthirster that the Khorne army is trying to summon.
Okay.
And that bloodthirster, once summoned, needs to kill the enemy warlord. And if that happens, then they win. But they only have 8 games to do it.
Okay, so a time frame. Okay.
Yeah, and it's 8 because
of course,
8-fold path, and it's difficult. Like I remember back in the day when I was playing Khorne Demonkin games, and you with the blood tithe and earning blood tithe points and spending them on new units that are coming in. For those who are listening that don't remember that. That's how it worked. That was the mechanic, which was awesome. And you didn't have to pay extra for those units. That you just earned them by dying or by killing units. It was both.
Or if anybody is familiar with AOS, because they actually implemented that into the AOS Bloodbound, which made me quite excited. Where again, the more you kill, the more, like, it didn't matter if your guys died or they died, you gain those points and you can summon demons and bloodthirsters and that. So yes, bring that back to 40k. Like GW, listen,
Slaanesh
please.
had something like that too with their depravity points. You hurt yourself to get keepers back on the board.
So if it was something like that, because it's difficult. I remember that was my goal every game, was to summon a bloodthirster and to wreak havoc with them afterwards.
Oh yeah,
that's what I wanted to do. If I did that, again, like fighting with Khorne Berserkers, it didn't matter if I won or lost. I would have a ton of fun doing that if that happened.
Like, there was nothing greater. Turn 5 comes around, it's like half everybody is dead. You're like, oh, I have a bloodthirster. Have fun.
Yeah. It's time for the party.
Yeah, so now it's just a matter of who's the enemy.
So, what are your thoughts on the new Be'lakor model?
Oh, I love it. Looks great.
It looks amazing, eh?
Yeah. Looks super cool. Gives me hope.
Lord of War, though.
What's that?
It really does. I feel like it's going to end up going into a Lord of War slot, though.
It's hard to
definitely
say.
Be something big.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like he's kind of Bloodthirster size, isn't he?
Ish. Like I know. No, well, what it is, it's the like the model body size of itself it's bigger than when he was the Demon Prince, but it's not. I don't think it's quite the size as a Bloodthirster because the base itself, like what he's standing on, is what elevates him so much. But yes, like if he's going to be pretty much the same size as like a Bloodthirster, a Great Unclean one, and this and that, does he still keep his Demon Prince name, or did he ascend? And maybe this is the new narrative with him, or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, gorgeous model, and I'll be including him because he's fun to play. I remember him; he was fun to play with before. It's impossible to hit before.
Yeah. Those stat leaks they have on him looks pretty good. So.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely ridiculous.
Ignoring invols and all that stuff.
But again, it's like Dave said earlier, it's the whole rule of cool. It's probably one of the coolest models GW has released in ages. Like I look at him, I'm like, I want to own him. Am I going to play Chaos Undivided? Probably not, but I still want him to paint him and just sit there and look nice and pretty with my other 5 Bloodthirsters and Great Unclean ones. And
yeah. So that's going to be awesome. And any army, right? He's one of those any army you can bring him.
Exactly.
Deals.
Yeah. It'd be fun with my Slaanesh demons.
But again, it gives hope again for, like I said, the new Demons book, new Chaos book, and stuff like that. Like hopefully we'll see little Timbits. Like I know, like all this Khorne Demonkin talks just getting me a little too excited and anxious to kind of be like, oh man, like I'm gonna wait to start seeing little snippets. Like, is it gonna come back? Please, come on.
Yeah, that's always the hope. Maybe maybe an idea would be to make a video kind of petitioning GW to just do it, right? And
I'm sure the amount of signatures we get on that would be ridiculous.
Leave a comment, it counts as your signature. Share this, pass it to 8 people.
Make it known.
Everybody needs to share it to 8 people, like you said, and then those 8 people, 8 more people. It won't take long.
Yeah, it'll spread like fire, right?
Fire of Khorne.
Yeah, like that would be awesome. I mean, that would certainly show.
But no, if you ever get around to making like a narrative campaign that has like implements the Khorne Demonkin, or you know what, at the end of the day, like do the whole like Path of 4 Warlords, like incorporate the Khorne Demonkin, a Tzeentch Demonkin, get 4 players, and fight for the Almighty. And then, hey, maybe when the Be'lakor model comes up, have something to incorporate him to make it this big grand scheme thing. That'd be interesting to see. You know, ideas.
Rallies to treats against the Imperium.
But no, there's definitely a lot of gameplay because I mean, Khorne hates everybody, so you can honestly just pick anybody out of the Codex books and just be like, I don't like you. Let's do one against you.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? He's very fair in that respect, right? He hates everyone equally. He hates Slaanesh a little bit more just because of
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And you know what? He kind of hates probably Tzeentch a bit more than Nurgle, I would say, just because of the psychicness.
Yeah.
So maybe what I said isn't right. Maybe he really hates them. Like he hates everyone, but he really hates them. So yeah.
He just really hates them a little bit more.
Yeah, just a little bit more. Like if he was going to be buddies with somebody, it would probably be with Nurgle.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
but then it's weird because whenever you read the fluff and stuff like that, it's like at one point there was the big thing against Khorne and Nurgle. It always seems like it's shifting depending on where in the story you're reading.
Yeah. Yeah, wherever it's most convenient at the time. Yeah, we are allies of convenience.
But no, a question I have for you, Dave, and I actually just seen posted a little bit earlier today. But on Play on Tabletop, I see that they got a copy of your new board game. And they were giving that a shot.
Yeah. Legacy of the Rangers board game. That was part of the Rangers Bloodstone feature film that I did. There was a Kickstarter for that a number of years ago, and one of the stretch goals was to make a board game, which was finally completed. It took a long time to complete it, but it's done now, and I'm very happy with the game, and it's a lot of fun. It's a co-op game, so it's you versus the game. So it's 1 to 4 players. You could actually play it by yourself, and there's an AI mechanic that's super fun, and it's challenging and rewarding when you play, and it's based off of the characters from the film. So my character's in it, and other characters are in it, and they have a personal quest plus the main quest, which is to find and secure the Bloodstone and build up the village that you find it in, and prevent the orcs from finding it first. So it's humans versus orcs, and they have war bands that go and raid and pillage these villages, and they destroy them. So you have to fight them, build up the villages, build up structures, and so it's resource management. It's also combat, and it's cooperative. So super fun. I'm very happy with the mechanics that went into the creation of the game. And play on tabletop. They did a fantastic job with their playthrough. Like, they're super high quality videos that they make anyway. And yeah, so just as a favor, I gave them a copy, and they played it. They made a video of it, and super cool dudes over there, also Canadian, just like us.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
And yeah, so it's awesome.
Yeah, no, like I seen that. Like I said, like I started watching it a while ago, but I'm like, I didn't have enough time to watch the entirety. I'm like, nope, I gotta do myself a favor, sit down, watch it in one shot. Because I still remember following you whenever you were first previewing that you were getting into it, like with the movie years back. And it was always so intriguing to see like the steps that you were taking towards it, like when you were showing like some of the snippets from the creation of the movie, and it was great to see that it's still continuing now, and to see the board game come out, I'm just like, oh man, like some of my favorite board games are like the Legend of Drizzt D&D board games and stuff like that, like the co-op. And it just makes it that much more fun because, again, it's kind of adding to their narrative. Like, you're not just trying to screw Buddy over because he collected X amount of whatever. It's like, no, you're working together to play against the game itself. And that's right. It got me so interested whenever I seen that's the base type of the game. I'm like, I need to get my hands on this now because, again, that's what we play around. Like, myself, my wife, and a bunch of friends. Like, we look out for games like that to be able to, like I said, sit down for hours at a time, and especially if it's games that carry over, and just enjoy it like to the maximum.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's multiple characters in the game, and you can you can play multiple times. You can increase the difficulties, and so the replayability is good. Nice. And speaking of projects and films and stuff, have you guys seen this recent Kickstarter, Chaos Rising?
I want to say the name sounds familiar, but I can't say exactly what it is.
Okay, so this is something you two will particularly appreciate because you're both Chaos players.
Okay.
There's this film company in Scotland, and they're right now, as we speak, they are running a Kickstarter. It's a 60-day Kickstarter, so they're like 2 weeks into it so far.
Okay.
And it's based on Warhammer Fantasy.
Ooh, so you got my attention there.
The old world, right? And it's called Chaos Rising. So it's Chaos warbands fighting the Bretonnians.
Okay.
And they're doing a Kickstarter for it. It's a bunch of volunteers, and so they're not being paid. Everything goes towards the production and just food and travel and like that type of stuff, and the sets and costumes. And because they're volunteers, they're able to make this fan film. Because with GW and their IP, they're very protective of that, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right? So they've spoken with them, and they've made sure everything was good. And so they're making this fan film, and so they contacted me when they first launched. They're like, "Hey, Dave, we're doing this. Could you promote it for us? Can you share the word?" And I looked at him like, "Man, that is the best Kickstarter pitch video I have ever seen. If you haven't seen this video, watch this video. It's like it's a short film in and of itself where they're telling you about the Kickstarter. It's amazing."
No, I'll definitely be throwing it into the description because the way you're explaining it, no, this is not what I was thinking of at all. But like, you've piqued my interest greatly.
And so they, Okay, so I saw that. I'm like, man, that's awesome. So I shared it on Facebook and on Twitter, and I looked at their Kickstarter pledge levels, and they had a couple pledge levels where one of them was you could be featured in it and be killed as one of the Marauders or one of the Chaos Warriors. And then there was one above that, which was you could kill someone else. So you could have a featured kill where you do that. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But they were all taken. I'm like, dang, that sucks. And so I emailed them. I'm like, hey guys, like this is the first response back to them, right? They emailed me first, hey Dave, can you do this? And so my first response back was, guys, your project's awesome. I love what you're doing. And they've already funded, right? So you guys have already funded. I noticed you had these pledge levels where you can be in the movie and have a kill, and they're all taken, and which I completely understand why, because it's awesome.
Oh, exactly.
And so if you would consider having one more spot, if it is at all possible, I basically begged them. I'm like, would you please let me be in it? Because that would be totally awesome. If you say no, I completely understand because of whatever production restraints or whatever you might have. Yeah. And I will still promote the heck out of this because I love your project and it's awesome. But if you say yes, that's just a dream come true. That's going to be super, super cool. And so they responded back and they said, Dave, we invite you to be on set and we would love to have you here. We're filming in Scotland in the summertime and we'll see you then.
Oh, nice.
Whoa. Like that is just awesome, right? Like, holy crap. So not only is it Warhammer, it's a fan film Warhammer, and it's chaos. It's all of these things, all these good things all together all at once at the same time.
You can't get better than that now.
Yeah, you can't get better, right? And it's one of these fun projects that exists in our community that's outside of Games Workshop, right?
Yeah.
But it's fan filled, it's fan fueled. It's completely driven by these group of filmmakers that are huge fans of the lore and of the IP, and it's because of that it's pure passion that just goes into this project, right? Yeah, and I think depending on how much they get with the Kickstarter, it'll be a series, not just a short film. Right? Okay. It'll be like multi parts to it, which is great because then they can put more into character development, and there's an arc, and you guys have got it. Like, you got to watch it afterwards, man. Like, you got to see this video that they made, like the special effects, and like it's basically a group of stunt guys. They're like, hey, we want to make a movie. We like Warhammer. We're stunt guys, and we hired a film crew, and we need your help to do this. Like, that's basically what they've done. So they're really good at doing the battle scenes and making them look how you would think they should look, which is bloody and gory and magnificent because it's Khorne. Because one of the first things you see is a guy skinning another guy's head, and he holds up a scalp and he yells, "Blood for the Blood God!" And when I saw that, I'm like, what is this film?
Okay, so the second this chat is done, like, I'm gone. I'm watching this. Like, if for anybody listening, if you already haven't seen it on our page, I will be sharing this on our Facebook page. Like, the second this interview is done, like, I got to see this now. Like, I got goosebumps.
I sent you the link there, Dan.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Oh man, it's so good. Yeah, you guys will absolutely love it. And for those who are listening, like, you guys will love it too. Even if you don't like chaos, it's Warhammer. It's a Warhammer fan film.
And like you said, awesome. Like, fan film are the people that are in it because they love it, and they can put that much more enthusiasm into it to give it 125 to 150%. Like, it's like, just anything I've seen fan film that goes towards like Warhammer or anything at all, like, it's mind blowing compared to anything else, just because it's fanboys doing stuff for fanboys, and those fanboys are going to fanboy over this stuff. Like, it's,
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
Now I'm excited. Yeah. Like, so far, everything we've talked about, I don't think I felt this excited while talking to somebody. And again, it's Warhammer, but it's just, so fun.
You know what? That actually reminds me, because, at the end of the day, we're playing with these plastic soldiers. And I've heard people say it that way. They're like, we're going to go out and do these important things. So, I felt guilty because, really, I'm just playing with these plastic soldiers, and that's not as important as this other stuff. But there's all of the intangibles that you can't quantify, like the people that find catharsis in their hobby from the stresses and anxieties of their life. Like, how do you like to say, oh, I'm just playing with these plastic things? It's like saying, well, I'm just painting, right? Because that's therapeutic, right? Like, how do you downplay the importance of one over the other? You can't.
No.
And so for some people, it has saved their life, literally. Some people, they're in such a dark place, and they get to do this. They have this outlet. They have this community that they're a part of, and it has literally saved them. So
no, it's true.
That's why it's so important. This whole thing is not only awesome and fun, but it is so important, especially in our world that we live in right now and all the chaos, literal chaos that's happening.
Yeah. No, true. And we've even said at the beginning of the episode, it's just, this is one of the most supporting communities of any hobby project, anything I've ever partaked in. And it's just like you said, it's like, it just takes that one person to be like, hey, I got this game, come check it out. Me and a couple of buddies, and we play it every other day. And then you meet these people, and then you meet more people through the game. You start having conversations. Like, when I moved to Moncton about, I think, like 15 years ago, I knew a few people, but then first thing I did was I went to the local gaming shop, did some games. But then the second I got into Warhammer, I think my current friend base is the people that I play Warhammer with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like you get so close because the common interest is so powerful, I guess you can say, that is just, everybody supports everybody. And like, it makes me so happy to be part of this community.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. And I've only gotten into the hobby about 2 years ago, and coming into the local gaming club and stuff, like, these guys are probably my best friends now. Like, they're such a chill community, easy to get along with, great guys to have a game with, and then go out and have a beer afterwards.
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. Exactly. So actually, we're pretty much coming up to wraps pretty soon. So what I'll do before we wrap it off, we can even keep it nice and quick and short. But in all the years yourself, Dave, you've been playing this game, what is the one moment, and I know this will probably be hard to say, but like, that stands out the most, that really shows you overall what this community means to you?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I mean, there was the recent experience that I had with a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this one, and I can definitely agree with this. Yes.
And it's so I don't know how much detail you want here. The more detail I give, the danger of me getting emotional. So
keep it to where you feel.
I'll keep it brief.
Yes.
Yeah. So in short, I posted a video on this in Miniwargamer. So if you want the full video and you get like the real time reaction, it's up there and you can see. But basically, I was kind of just like hopping around Twitch one day, looking, hopping in and out of different streams, and I do this thing where I go onto a random stream, Warhammer stream, usually people painting stuff, and I just type in the chat, "The Eye of Terror sees all," and I do this little thing, and then I pop back out, right? Because it's fun. And I did that to this one person. Mango Smasher is her name, and she reacted big. She's like, "Oh, Dave! Oh my goodness! Whoa! Whoa! What are you doing here? Awesome!" So completely threw her off. And I mean that was a big compliment, right? She's seen the channel before and is a fan of the channel and stuff. And I looked at her minis, and I tweeted about her. I just tweeted her channel, and she was so grateful for it. The appreciation and the gratitude that she expressed, it really touched me. It did, and so much so that it inspired me to immediately hop on a live stream and then direct all of the people, all that traffic that was hopping onto the live stream, to go onto her live stream and to support her live stream. And the reason why, above and beyond the gratitude that she expressed from that one tweet, the reason why I did it is because of what she does and has been doing for years. And that is, she paints miniatures for people. She does commissions, and she doesn't charge for them. She does it for free. Yeah. And she does it out of the goodness of her heart, and she does it to help her friends and help people get into the hobby because she knows the importance of of what this hobby does for people
Mm-hmm.
on a level that you can't quantify. You can't
No.
like how do you measure that, right? Like you just don't. Like it just brings joy. It really does.
It does.
So that was, I would say, that sticks out.
No, and that's a great story. Like just the way you started, I knew exactly where you're going with it. And again, it just shows on how much we support each other. And like what you did for her probably like shot her over the moon, and she'll never forget that day.
And here's the crazy thing: out of all like the chat donations and stuff, she gave it back to the community.
Oh wow!
Because she received a bunch that day, right? And she spiked in subscribers that day. A lot. Now she has a few thousand subscribers now, and
nice.
I don't know what she started with. I don't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100. Like I don't even know. I can't even remember. It was very modest, right? And all that stuff, she threw it back into the community. She redonated it to other channels that are small. That how she was. Yeah, because that's just the type of person she is.
No, that's amazing. When I first seen that video that you posted, like I said, I went checked right away, and it was just like, yeah. No, I can't put into words. Like I said, just amazing. All right. Well,
we did have a question on our Discord here. I know Justin was asking how Deffy's doing, and how's Deffy doing, and do you plan on using him anytime soon? And another one was what's your hopes for unreleased Chaos books?
Deffy's doing well, and Deffy will be fielded alongside Be'lakor when Be'lakor comes in. And my hopes for Chaos is that World Eater Codex comes out.
And Khorne Daemonkin. Just Khorne Daemonkin. That's it. Doesn't even have to be World
Eater. That becomes the new Khorne Daemonkin is the World Eaters.
Yes.
That'd be insane. But also new Chaos Space Marines. 9th edition Chaos Space Marines Codex. That's what I'm hoping for.
3 Wound Terminators would be nice.
Yes. 2 Wound Berserkers would be nice, right?
Oh my god. No. Well, like I said, we won't keep you too long, Dave, because you got yourself a busy schedule. But I can't say thank you enough for taking the time to join us on this episode.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yep. No, and like I said, hopefully down the road we'll be chatting soon. And then here's to the long wait. Hopefully not too long for that new Chaos Space Marine Codex.
Hopefully not.
All right. Well, to everybody listening, hope you enjoyed and have yourselves a good night.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one.